Bonjour, my name is David Devere. I'm a wine and spirits educator and world traveler. You're watching Savvy Nomad TV. This is episode 4 of Tasting Whiskeys from the World Tour of Whiskey Box. Today we're going to taste whiskey number 7. This is Macaloney's. This is a Canadian single malt peated whiskey. It's made in Victoria, British Columbia. QR code for that up here somewhere. And then number 8 is Cotswolds. This is a single malt whiskey made in the Cotswolds region of England. If you saw the TV show Clarkson's Farm, that is filmed in the Cotswolds also. That's a very enjoyable, humorous, funny TV show about life on a farm. Check it out. Okay, these two whiskeys share something in common because whiskey is not made in a bubble. It is not a factory-produced item. There is engineering involved. There is technique and temperatures and calculations involved. But at the end of all of that, it is artistry. It's engineering and artistry meets something in the middle, and that artistry starts in a barrel. Now, these two whiskeys share something that the box has kind of a lot of. And that is the influence of one particular artist. I'll call him an artist, but he was a chemist. His name was Dr. James Swan. Dr. Swan developed an aroma wheel early in his career, and that helped him figure out all the different types of aromas that you have in whiskey. All those things that you see written on the bottom of the book, toffee, coffee, chocolate, all that stuff, he figured out. And he put that on a wheel, and then people still use those concepts to describe the types of whiskeys they're having. But Dr. Swan kept working in his profession and moved it a little further. Now, before I get into how he did that, I want to just say that we've already tasted some of Dr. Swan's work. He was influential in the McNean distillery in Scotland. That was a whiskey number 2. He was influential in both number 7 and number 8, which we're going to taste today. He was also influential in helping M&H, which is number 17, and number 20 here in the box, Cavalon, which is from Taiwan. He traveled the world extensively, and he helped teach distillers how to make good quality whiskey. Now, the book talks about his influence a little bit, but in reality, what he did was much more than just influence the recipe of distillation. He influenced that artistry side of the equation. And how did he do that? He did it with oak. He realized that the oak barrel was where the magic happens. And oak really is this magical component that both wineries and distilleries use to make their products what they are. I don't know why oak does it, but oak is the secret in the sauce. Wineries use them. Sherry makers use it. They use it to make Madeira. They use it to make whiskey. They use oak to make rum. They use oak to make cognac. They use oak for Calvados. They use oak for other types of brandies. It's everywhere in the hard liquor and wine industry. And so consequently, there are quite a few barrels out in the world. The barrels, especially the oak barrels that are used in high quality wine and fine whiskeys, are still handmade. You can't really get a factory to make a barrel. You can use mechanized things, but you still need a cooper. You still need someone who knows how to make a barrel. And so in the 80s, about 40 years ago, Dr. Swan realized there was a lack of barrels on the market. Everybody was using, well, not everybody, but most everybody was using used American bourbon barrels. Now, an oak barrel imparts its flavor from virgin oak once. It does it just the first time. And then if you use it again, it's not going to impart those vanilla and coconut flavors again the second time. It's kind of used up because whatever you put in there, let's call it wine, will soak into the barrel, and the barrel will also give its influence to the wine. Now, oak barrels actually allow respiration to happen. So air comes in and out of the barrel and it breathes. So that breathing ages wine and it ages whiskey, and it imparts exactly the color that you see, because remember, this comes out as completely clear spirit. I mean, it's clear like water, and it eventually turns to this color. So Dr. Swan thought, great, everybody's using bourbon, but there's not enough bourbon barrels to go around. Why don't we use wine barrels? Why don't we use sherry barrels? Why don't we use Madeira barrels? Why don't we use rum barrels? Why do we just only use bourbon barrels? And so he developed a technique called shaved, toasted, re-charred. And it allowed whiskey makers to reuse old barrels and get a new effect out of it. And the new effect was completely unheard of, because what they did was they shaved off the inside. So if it's a wine barrel, they shaved off the inside, removed the influence of the wine, which would maybe add tannins and other hard elements to a whiskey. It removed the wine influence, and then it made the barrel new again, but it didn't make it new like it was brand new. It made it new like it was a used new barrel. It was a completely new idea. You can do this maybe once, maybe twice, depending on the thickness of the barrel. You shave off the inside, remove all of the stuff, get down to that red wood, they call it, and then you toast it, literally toasting the inside of the barrel. And that's changing all that new wood and caramelizing it a little bit. And then you char it. I mean, you start a fire inside the barrel and you char it. And depending on the level of char, it's going to impart a certain flavor to the whiskey. Dr. Swan knew this. He knew how to do this. He developed the technique, and then he sold the technique to a number of distilleries. And those distilleries went on to become award-winning in a very short amount of time. So Dr. Swan realized you can reuse old oak, you can reuse oak barrels from other industries that you wouldn't normally be doing. You can decrease the amount of time it takes to age the whiskeys. In Scotland, 10, 12, 15 years used to be thought of as normal. Now these newer distilleries are producing 3-year-old scotch that tastes not like 3-year-old scotch. It's got all those wonderful characteristics of old scotch, but it's done in 3 years, and it's because of Dr. Swan's technique of shaving, toasting, and re-charring. Okay, let's go outside and taste number 7 and number 8. Okay, so today we have brought you to one of Minnesota's most iconic places, the Split Rock Lighthouse.
Also the place of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Well, not really.
Okay, close by.
It didn't wreck here at all, but it wrecked up the shore almost in Canada. Well, it kind of is in Canadian waters, but there is a wreck here. And do you remember the name of it?
The Madeira.
The Madeira. And they built the lighthouse because the Madeira wrecked here and because the shore, north shore of Lake Superior is so treacherous. Today is no exception. There's a gale warning on the lake today, and it's breezy and nuts and kind of energizing and crazy. A perfect place to taste whiskey.
Exactly.
Okay, so today's first whiskey is in this pocket. And this is a, as we talked about, peated Scotch from, sorry, not a Scotch, a peated whiskey from
Canada.
Our
near neighbors.
Our near neighbors. This is made in Victoria, and of course this is using the shaved, toasted, and re-charred barrels of the famous Scottish Doctor of Whiskey.
Doctor of Whiskey.
Dr. James Swan. Okay, let's see what we get.
Well,
smoke.
peat isn't my favorite flavor. I know it's really traditional.
It's very smoky.
But it is sometimes really interesting.
There's a little bit of caramel in there, caramel smoke.
So.
And a little bit of lemon. That's interesting.
Oh, they're saying candied orange, which could be, you know, very similar.
Have a sniff.
Okay. Oh, so smoky.
It's gonna really change how
the
we...
wind is so breezy. It's like shoving the smoke.
It's gonna change how we taste the next one, honestly, I think, because the smoke will probably linger in our mouth quite a bit.
Okay.
All right, down the hatch.
Okay. Yeah, campfirey. I mean,
I
good,
like it.
Good if you're camping.
It's
I bet.
not an intense smoke. If you've ever tasted a Lagavulin
Yeah, that's
from
yeah.
the islands in Scotland, they're much smokier than this. This is less smoky.
It has a very long-lasting smokiness, though.
It's kind of nice, you know.
So it says palate, creamy, very smooth, pleasantly warming, with sweet red wine, blackcurrant, prune, date, sultana, honeydew melon.
I don't get any of those.
I'm not noticing the fruitiness.
The sweet, yes. A little bit spicy, yes. Caramely and smoky. It's a great campfire whiskey.
It says the finish of toffee fudge, perfume, floral nectar, a dry malt sweetness with a hint of salt and lingering smoke befitting an island dram.
It's very similar. I would say, yeah. Like I just said, it's very similar to a lot of those smoky, peaty scotches.
Yeah, very much. So that was a Canadian.
Yes. Now we're going to the Cotswolds, which is in England.
In England. I am still strongly tasting the smokiness.
We're not really going to give the Cotswolds a fair shake here.
Poor little Cotswolds. We should have tried them first, maybe. So this one does not say it has smoke at all. It says inviting aromas of nutty marzipan, yum, 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 creamy chocolate, and tropical banana. Oh, that sounds like a really fun thing to sniff.
It smells sweet. It does smell fruit forward, and it smells a little bit tropical.
Oh.
And I do get the banana, absolutely. There's a strong banana aroma.
Power
for
of
sure.
suggestion.
No, I think I would have guessed it. If you hadn't read it, I would have guessed it.
It does smell like banana. It's definitely fruitier. This is more to my sniffing preference. I still taste the smoke, but I'm gonna taste this anyway.
Go ahead. We have to. It's part of our job.
Kind of burns. Definitely fruitier. Sweeter. Black pepper, they're saying.
It's spicier. It has a
Ooh.
little bit of mouth burn. It stripped the smoke
stripped the
right
smoke
out.
right out.
No more smoke. And now I get a finish flavor. It is sweet and it's banana-y. It's like that banana flavor that I used to get in the Novocaine at the doctor's office.
Yum.
That's weird, banana. I'd never had a banana whiskey before.
Well, I mean, so they're saying the finish is oak spices with pepper, which sticks around, and it is a bit spicy. And I wonder if the banana is that characteristic of an oak also, because oak can be coconutty or vanilla-y. Woo! Oh my God, there's a big wave coming. Okay. And
Ooh, that is a big wave. Okay,
and
so
we're still high
open
and
up
dry.
the journal. Let's see how much these cost.
Okay. So the Cotswold.
Let's do the first one
Want
first.
to do-
The Macaloni,
Yep.
$79
US.
US.
$109.99 Canadian.
And the Cotswolds, I couldn't find a vendor selling it in the US, but you can buy it in the UK for 45 pounds to 100 pounds.
Ooh.
This Cotswolds one is a special blend I believe they made just for the kit.
Interesting. That was
Yep.
a really great contrast compare.
We are going to go enjoy the area around the lighthouse. We'll see you next week for another whiskey tasting.
Yeah, fun.
Until then, I say a tutelaire. Oh wait, if you like this, give us a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing.
Yeah.
Until then, I say a tutelaire and cheers.
Cheers.